Hello, welcome back to Adventure 82. Right, today we're going to be going into both HO1 and HO2 tunnels. We've actually been invited to go in by someone who's actually got permission to go in there. I must stress that you must not go in these tunnels unless you have the appropriate permission, because aside from them being privately owned, the other thing is that, especially with the HO2 tunnel, which was never finished, the shale is extremely unstable, so unless you're going in there with someone who knows their way around, which is what we're doing today, you really shouldn't go in there. I'm going in there to document the tunnel because the gentleman who owns it is actually going to be filling in HO2 and it will no longer be accessible. So it's just as much for history documentation as anything else, but please do not go in there yourself. We're just waiting at the minute to meet up with Paul, who's the gentleman who's invited us in. Once Paul gets here, we'll go and have a look. As far as you guys are concerned, this will actually be two videos. I'll do two separate ones. One will have HO1 and one will have HO2. So once Paul gets here, we'll go into the tunnels and we'll have a look, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you in the next clip. Right, so we're in HO2, very muddy, very wet, completely unlined. This gentleman ahead of me here with a hat on, it's Paul, the gentleman who knows his way around this tunnel. Lydia, as you've seen in some of the train videos, is with me. Look at that. All the stuff that's been here for years. It's so cold in here I can see my breath. Look at that. So these all started being built in 1942 by the Germans after they occupied Jersey. This is one of most of them that were never finished. The only ones that are in like a relatively complete state, there was four: HO4, HO8, which is the Jersey War tunnels, HO5, which is hidden inside an old railway tunnel, and HO1, which is the other one we're doing across the way tonight. But these were all forced labour, mostly Russians. You can see these things. Oh, okay. So there used to be helmets and guns and things down here. It has been cleared out massively. This is how they used to get all the ground out. See, they had the rails. These would have been manually pushed along by the forced workers.
These are settling torches from cutting and stuff up after the war. But the original rail tracks are there. This is all after the war. I think these original munition boxes got the war. You still recording it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason these weren't finished is because the gentleman who was in charge of organisation Todd died. His name was Fritz Todd, and the gentleman who took over from him put a halt to these works. So without supplies, they had to prioritise which tunnels they were going to finish because they couldn't finish all of them. And as a result, quite a lot of these got the chop. This was originally going to be a ration store, but I think you really want to store anything in here now. Just show you this floor. It's riddled with all sorts of old German stuff, and stones, soaking wet. I definitely made the mistake of coming here in trainers. But I say there's 4 of us in this tunnel. 3 of us made that mistake, so it's. But you definitely have to watch where you're putting your feet. Over the years, they say this has become increasingly unstable. As you can see, I just slipped. But also, it also seems to depend who you talk to. So, as I found. So that spray paint there, is that like measuring marks or something? Or?
Yeah, I think it's measuring marks because after the war there was the chaperone was looking to turn it into something like HO8. I think he was surveying it for reinforcement, pressing and finishing it off, but it would never go.
Oh, so they were looking to possibly make this like a tourist attraction?
Yeah, but he was told it's simply too unstable. I mean, HO8 is in much better condition.
Yeah, HO8's got a couple of unfinished tunnels, but it's nothing like this, is it?
No, it's not as big as that.
Right, so you can see there, one way's lined, the way ahead of us isn't lined.
This is the way, babe.
Oh, what's it down then?
It's far back in the tunnel.
We're down, yeah?
Is that way?
And we come back that way. We come back that way.
And what's down the line? That's just a dead end, isn't it?
Yeah.
See that bit's just a dead end, that never went any
They have
further.
these branches for storage on all the tunnels.
Right, okay.
Sweetheart,
So, from what you said to me when you messaged me as well, you said there was bats down here.
yeah, there are the occasional bats recent here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the reasons I volunteered to show people around to make sure they don't inadvertently disturb the bats. There aren't that
They're
many.
taking the precautions at least.
Because I wasn't even aware there was wild bats in the island, to be honest.
That's even worse, yeah?
Now, as far as I was aware, the only bats in Jersey was the ones at the zoo.
No, there's loads of species of bats. Wild.
Pipistrelle, is it pipistrelle?
Is there?
Horseshoe, that's a horseshoe.
Horseshoe.
This is actually new. Since I got it.
Ah, it's going to be in
There's a
again.
massive pipe there. I have to say, Lydia's doing a very good job of lighting all this. So is this the cave in, is it?
This here is what makes this tunnel so interesting. Up until now, apart from that little over there, it's just been bare rock, but now on there it's completely finished. So this tunnel was finished from the back out, whereas HO1,
Yeah.
the tunnel's finished from the inside, so from the outside in. So as
Yeah.
you go into HO1,
Yeah.
it turns into bare rock, but here it turns into finished concrete.
Right, so they actually finished this off the opposite way round.
Yeah, they're pouring concrete down the the escape shaft, which is now completely filled in.
Where was the escape shaft?
It's in the fields above.
Okay.
No one seems to know where it is. They haven't found it.
Oh.
Yeah,
So they managed to line the walls and the ceiling.
and
Well, never
also
got
at
to the
back,
floor.
At the back, the ceilings are bare, but the walls are finished.
Okay. That's quite cool. Video. Don't get take pictures.
There's loads of
You
vulgar
need a
graffiti.
trains look as well.
The thing that annoys me is the graffiti because, obviously this is a war site. I
Yeah.
was going to come in a couple
Your
of years
mum's
ago.
fat.
Yeah.
I was going to come in a couple of years ago and whitewash the walls, but I definitely don't think I'm going to do it.
It's one of those, isn't it? It's a case of like respect for the people who died building it, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Therefore,
What's this? So has this actually had many rockfalls in here, or is it actually not as bad as people make it
On the way
sound?
back, I'll show you where the main one was.
Because the problem was, of course, is that made these unstable to the reinforces that the Germans did choose to go through the shower rather than the granite, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it was easier to dig.
It's a lot softer. This is where the fire was when the kids died, just up there.
Is it? Right, I should mention, because I haven't yet, what Paul's referring to is back in 1967, some kids decided to kind of camp in here, essentially.
You can still see the smoke on the rock here, which is all dark with the
And
fire.
yeah, it went very wrong very quick. A couple of the kids actually died, as far as I'm aware.
You want to help?
You have to treat these kind of things,
no,
I like that of you, with the respect they deserve. And yeah, I'm guessing this is one of the major rock slides that happened. You can actually see the hole in the ceiling where it fell out from.
Yeah, that's right. funny enough, this is now one of the most stable parts because this has all been expanded and contracted. It's all fallen off, so it's all right.
Okay, Olivia. Right, you see we found the main line section now.
This shuttering could have been done yesterday. It's so fair. It's amazing. It's very cool.
This was never actually used though, was it?
And look at this. Look how they finished here. Fleecings and everything. Look at that way.
Go somewhere else.
I'll put this here on.
So that's another storage area because it's a dead end.
I'll put this here on Remembrance Day. There's what I put on HO1 as well.
Yeah. It's good to remember these things, you know. So that's another, that curves off. What's down behind us?
Yeah.
Where does that go?
Oh, we'll go down there. So
Right, okay.
this is the dead end down there. Look at the quality of this. The quality. It's absolutely amazing.
It's
so well done.
You can see the layers.
There's been a massive landslide from the surface.
You can see there what Paul's showing me, that there's no way through there.
When we go out the other side, you see the corresponding.
They did seal some like ordnance and guns and stuff in here, didn't they, back in the
that's down
40s?
there on the right, I'll show you.
And they said in the 50s the metal drive caused people to come over here from the UK, didn't they? They tried to take a lot of it, didn't they?
Bronze especially, yeah.
Yeah.
Bronze and gold and
Because apparently even the gun metal was worth a fortune. Probably still is today, to be fair.
This is all the original
Okay.
Narrowgauge railway.
Do you want this back? Would you prefer to have that? You can do your photos with one hand. You seem to be happy when you've got that.
So well done.
So this was going to obviously go further in, this bit was, and they never got there.
I think those are just side stores. I don't think they were lifted.
So would the railway have been lifted after they'd finished, or do you reckon they'd have
No, I
left it
think it
in?
would have been kept because this was, I think, going to be a store for non-munitions. The only munition store was for Royal Navy. That's why I've got the last one in front of it.
Right.
This is general stores. I think I would have kept this.
Because that HO4's got a platform, hasn't it?
And HO2 has as well. So HO1 has. It's a big platform there.
And the Germans also were going to do what they weren't able to do with the Jersey Railway back in the 1800s and the early 20th century. And they were actually going to link the two together because they'd also started going underneath Mount Bingham, hadn't they?
That tunnel's still there. All
Yeah.
that's left of it. It's now part of the JMC, I think.
Yeah, that was HO, is that 19, I think, isn't it?
I think that's where they is it that one there.
Yeah.
This is where they sealed all this stuff up.
So there's actually guns and stuff hidden behind there.
Yeah, this one there.
Because you look at the old pictures, I'll see if I can put some in for you guys at the end of the video. They actually had cars in here when they came in here to seal all this up.
There's a truck in HO1 just left there.
See, yeah. Because they were saying that, when I spoke to the gentleman who owns this tunnel, he was saying he has had people that want to know what's behind there, but they say it's too dangerous to remove it.
What's that noise? I have been here once when people have come in, they've seen my torch and scarf, there's just kids coming in from
Yeah.
the feces.
To be fair to them, I suppose, what's the odds of someone else being down here? Teenagers.
Yes, there's a fair few number of people coming. It's not widely known, but it's known.
It's mostly known to like local people, isn't it? It's not so much.
We'll go ahead.
Okay. Literally, there's railway everywhere. So this was a proper setup. The amount of forced labour that would have gone into building these. There was going to be a third tunnel down here, which is going to be called HO6, but that never got started. But so many bits to go off. So what's down that way? That's bricked off, is it? So what would that have been?
Oh no, it's This section here runs parallel to the main section and joins at the bottom.
So it would have been another path if it had been finished to go through, would it? Or
No, I think it wouldn't have broken out or anything like that. It was just
Okay.
part of, I mean, basically these things are donut shaped.
Right.
With two entrances on the lower left and lower right. And
Right.
then they have cross tunnels and then branches. Looks a bit like a spider crab.
Oh,
There are
okay.
only two entrances.
because I know that like HO1 was quite extraordinary because it actually had the three, because it had a separate pedestrian entrance as well, didn't it?
That's right, that's still there.
Yeah.
You can see that on the second floor. You want to go that way? Okay, let's go.
More, apparently somebody loves Ben Taylor according to the wall. So whoever Ben is. But
What
yeah.
we find with the kids is they come in for a couple of times, get bored and never come back, and then another wave of kids will come in next year. You know, it's almost like a rite of passage around the secondary schools to come and do things.
It would be nice if there was a way to stabilise it to make it actual possible for like people to visit it for history purposes, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think the state should step in by it, or take us back and finish or stabilise these there. They're fairly safe, yeah.
So I know that this was originally, before it was handed over, when the Germans left, it was actually state owned, wasn't it? It was state's property.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure when they gave away the rights.
Guns and use and
You can see that they've proper laid railway there, sleepers, everything. It's all been here since the 1940s. Someone must have put that one in the 60s, I'm going to guess. Because not too many people writing about John Lennon these days. So, absolutely amazing. We've got stalactites on the wall, ceilings. So, oh, drum barrel there. Got a hole in it. So, really quite a cool thing. Goes everywhere. See, this is why. Sorry, what was that for?
You can see the shattering a bit more clearly now on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Really shattering.
Because that's one thing that we would, when I remember distinctly when I was doing history class at school, when we were doing about the occupation, it's just how efficient the Germans were in the war, just laying their concrete.
Yeah.
They could lay it and get it done so quick.
A lot of people don't realise that the majority of the work on these tunnels is undertaken by local companies, local building companies. There was slave labour, but their purpose was mainly to remove spoil. All the technical stuff like shuttering and arching and roofs, that was all done by local companies. The tunnel slope, I believe, was built entirely by German engineers.
Right.
Because of its munitions function. I'm no great expert here, there's people over here who know 10 times more than I do, but this notion of slave labour when they died, they plastered into the walls, it's just nonsense. The slave labour was here, obviously, but the majority of the work was coordinated and undertaken by local building companies.
I know a lot of the slaves that were over here, they then tend to be Russian, but like you say, I know it was nowhere near as prolific as it was across the rest of Europe.
No. So, I'm not an apologist for the war, by the way, I'm just,
Yeah.
And this is where the tunnel ends. There's bare rock down to that dead end down there, and there's bare rock around the corner. It goes about another 10 yards.
Right, okay.
Just see it there. There's also wet down there. And here they had managed to only do one wall.
So this must have been kind of where they stopped working.
Yeah.
So had they continued, this is where they would have been doing their
it would have
concrete.
joined the main. It would have gone back and joined.
So it would have looped around kind of like HO1 does.
Yeah. HO1's bigger than HO2.
Yeah.
Not much bigger, but it's.
And then you've got the war
just-
tunnel on the other side, HO8. That's a bit smaller, I think,
Yeah,
isn't it?
when you go into HO8, they've done it very cleverly. They divided the main tunnel into two with a partition, so you get the impression you're going up and coming down a different part, but it's actually you're walking alongside each other. And there's a partition between you.
Yeah. Okay. And I've noticed the width of tunnels as well varies from tunnel to tunnel, because like HO8 has some quite wide tunnels.
Yeah.
And like in here, generally, they're actually quite narrow compared to those.
The rocky parts as we came here are actually bigger, but they're obviously not finished, so they would have become smaller.
That's a good thought. Actually, yeah, you wouldn't think of that, but yeah, the concrete's going to take up some of that space they've dug out, isn't it?
Yeah.
This was all about done like the old school way, wasn't it? It was all a case of like plant some dynamite, blow it, roof, made a mess, and then go again, wasn't it?
Yeah, there would have been drilling, I guess, and kind of like, it would have been an awful place to work, so claustrophobic and, just madman.
Because of course no lighting as well, they would have been using basically the same kind of light we're using now, though the light would have been minimal.
No, I think they would have electric lighting.
Would they?
Yeah, I think they would have, yeah.
So what, like kind of work lights powered by generators or?
Yeah, well, obviously generators would be outside, I'm just guessing here, they would have probably had electric lights on the cables, otherwise they would have been inside.
Right.
Let me take a photograph, I don't want to take photographs here because you've got the background of the main tunnel.
There you go, Lydia. Do you want to do that? Do you want to hold that for you or are you okay? Cool.
Just think everything you're seeing here would just be solid wood. Everything that has been blasted out, drilled out and taken out by whoever.
And one thing I have noticed though is on our way around the tunnel we haven't passed the other entrance, have we?
No,
So,
it's up there.
because you can't get in or out through the other entrance, can you?
No, you can.
Can you?
Yeah, I chained it up a while back. With very kids coming in, we had some of our bat equipment stolen.
Yeah. And
it's like thousands, so as of the time I chained it up, they just cut through the chain, and I chained it up again, and then they cut through again, so I thought, well, that's the point.
Oh, okay. I'd imagine if your torch was to go dead in here, it'd be a bit of a struggle to figure out which direction to go.
If the torches went out now, I'd be able to get out. I wouldn't be able to find my way out if I didn't know where it was, that'd be possible.
Stunning engineering.
You know where we're going now? We haven't been to the wall sides. Is that what you can write on the sides of the walls about people getting stadium?
It's,
I wonder how long these take for.
yeah, stalactites have been there a while, haven't they?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
This is like. So this is this like reinforced concrete then with the metal in
Yeah,
it?
completely reinforced, yeah.
Yeah. Notice
I don't know
that.
how much rock is above us actually, probably about 20 or 30 feet.
Yeah, because we're probably, depending where we are, we're kind of.
Yeah, you're right, depending where we are.
Because once you're under the fields, like on what would be Villo Bar, because that's where we're under, this is where that's going underneath. It's quite a climb up, even when you're driving up the road in a car, because the hill that goes up, which is the Gillette, is an interesting climb on foot. But yeah, so many. If you didn't know your way around, it would be quite easy to get disorientated, I think. So how did you learn your way around?
I've been here a lot.
Oh, okay.
With bad people on my own. And HO1.
HO1 had the mushrooms in it for a while, didn't it?
Yeah, then it was model, the motorcycle night car club was using the storage, and then the gun club I think had a, when we go in you'll see how long some of these side chambers are, they were using them for rifle shooting, sorry, pistol shooting.
Yeah.
At the moment some, I think it's Polish guys are using for metal sheet work, sort of water, you know, people come to your office with big water containers.
Yeah.
He's got a business there, and stuff.
I've also noticed that when I was checking out HO1, it's got a speed limit thing on it at 5 miles an hour, so I'm assuming you are actually allowed to drive in it.
Yeah, there are vans going in. They're not too keen on people going on during the day in case there's an accident, obviously. But they're nice if you've got permission, you can just go in. The guys who work there are really pleasant, really nice guys. They understand a lot about bat conservation, they're very sympathetic.
So the gentleman who owns this is actually the house on top. Does anybody who actually owns the HO1 tunnel? Does anybody know? Or?
I know someone who knows, I've not met myself.
Right, we're back out into the unlined section now. So we're basically working our way out.
You think good? Cool.
All good? And that'll be the end of this video. And then we'll move on to the HO1 video, which will come up, like I said to you, separately. But the interesting thing about this one, because it's got so many unlined areas, you get to see the process. You don't fully.
Obviously, the whole place hasn't changed, but this is
Yeah.
as it was left.
I think once it's lined, it's hard for someone to grasp just how much effort's got into putting it as it was.
In HM1 you can see behind the concrete in places, you can see how far it's attaching to bare rock.
Okay.
It stands apart from the rock on it.
Well, I'm not sure that's going to support anything, that railway anymore.
Go right there.
Really, really over.
Yeah, we've just run the corner. Okay.
So I must also say there's a kind of damp smell to being here. I'm guessing that's due to water ingress.
It has smelled worse, not smelling too bad.
Yeah.
But
I know.
it's normally the smelliest part of this.
I have to say that I know the worst one for water ingress is actually HA13 because it literally floods.
Yeah. That's another place you can. That's where the rockfall was a couple of years ago. That huge amount there. If that had fallen on you, it would have just been instantaneous.
I'll just zoom in for you because that's actually, I'm not sure how close that's on the camera, but yeah, that's quite significant.
That tunnel goes back to the way we came in. So this tunnel here,
Yeah.
and the tunnel with the concrete run parallel form the main donut shape of the tunnel.
Right. Okay.
And this branch here takes you out, and the branch down the bottom here takes you out in the south entrance.
Right. So I'm going to guess that, like, because obviously you can see the ceiling drops down slightly here, that this bit wasn't completely fully dug out.
No, it's possible. No, you're absolutely right. It could have been that it proved to be a little bit unstable. As I say,
Yeah.
just slightly creepy going past there. That's fairly recent.
Yeah, because I know I recently was able to go into HO5. It was just by pure fluke as it happens, because as I was following the railway in the videos I've done before.
You're on Snowden,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
That's completely finished that tunnel.
Yeah, the cycle hire place that was renting the tunnel out very kindly let me into the German tunnel as well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether it was cleverly or stupidly decided I wanted to see what's at the top of the escape shaft. Climbing 120 stairs is no mean feat.
And it's very steep as well.
Yeah, so I'm there and I'm thinking to myself while I was climbing these 120 stairs in HO5, you're meant to go up these in a rush. It's an escape shaft. So if you're German with heavy artillery on your hands, or and you've got your big metal, yeah, but even then sprinting up there's going to be a task. So the amount of they must have been so extremely fit to have been able to sprint up something like that. This is the entrance where the kids in the 1960s came in, isn't it?
I believe so.
But yeah, there was a lot more down here, hats and things, but a lot of it was taken in the metal drive of the 50s, like I mentioned earlier. Some of it was just cleared out because they had to clear out in the tunnel. But you can see there's still plenty down here. But yeah. Right, so as you can see, we found the way out. There's the daylight. And you can also see how they did attempt to keep you out. This is, I think, like the second, third barrier they put up. The first one they put up after the kids in the 60s, actually big sheet metal doors.
Yeah, this is the concrete they put in the 60s. They took a chunk out. This is the chain up that they recently cut. Careful, sweetie.
That's like reinforced as well. It's got metal in it, so they must have like. What are the kids bring? A sledgehammer?
I think so. Something like that.
See, I have to admire the kids' ingenuity.
Determination, I think.
Yeah. Right. Hang on. There we go. Right, so. You need me to change you, right? So we've come out, we went in. I should point out that was the south portal we went in. This one. This is the north portal. This is the one that was breached, like I say, in the 60s. You didn't have this metal section then, you just had this concrete bit. The kids smacked themselves a hole in it, climbed in, and then they lit their fire, which would have dried out the shale. I'm going to guess that's probably what made it collapse, because the moisture is partially what holds the shale together.
It just took a lot to get out. They died of asphyxiation.
But this is it would because this see the reason that like I say the reason the fire was dangerous anyway is because, well, for the same reason they put ventilation shafts in a train tunnel. You have to be able to let the smoke out, and it wasn't. It just gathered in the tunnel. It's an unfortunate thing. But right, so making our way out. Paul's quite ahead of me there, but right, before we go. Right, that's the end of the Ho2 video. I'm not going to go across the road with Paul, make the Ho1 video. So I'll see you next week in that one. Until then, like I said, don't go in here unless you've got someone who, one, has permission, and two, knows their way around, because you are so going to get lost in there, especially if you're unfortunate enough your torch dies. Until then, like, comment and subscribe if you can, please. And I'll see you next week in Ho1.